I'm Ellis Martin. Strokes, heart attacks, diabetes, Parkinson's disease, Alzheimer's, multiple sclerosis, brain injuries. These are just some of the major afflictions that have affected someone that we know or have known, people close to us. It's inescapable in this thing that we call life. Most often we lose these family members or friends. And again, many of them survive to live out a slow death or debilitation, not only suffering for themselves, but for those of us who love them and take care of them. In my travels as a journalist and entrepreneur, I've come across a company called Zhittya Medicine and their CEO, Dan Montano. Quoting from the company's website, zgm.care, Zhittya Medicine's drug development has led them to a possible treatment for those diseases and more, growing new blood vessels in the human body, a process referred to as angiogenesis. FGF-1 is a potent growth factor with just that ability. By growing new blood vessels in the human body, Zhittya believes that FGF-1 could reverse the root causes of those diseases. Last June, the chief science editor of this radio program and my close friend and business partner in biotech, Dr. Thomas Glenn, suffered a significant stroke here in Los Angeles. Thankfully, he is recovering, but it's hard work, involving continuous therapy. While I was not the one afflicted, it has affected me personally, as well as his other close friends and family. When I learned about Zhittya and FGF-1, I was keen to become involved to purvey this company's story to our audience across the U.S., specifically in Florida, and our global audience as well. And yes, after mutual due diligence between myself and the company, I have been contracted, or shall I say paid, to purvey this story to you today. I'm hopeful that someday this technology can assist afflicted individuals such as Dr. Glenn and millions of others globally. Please join me for a chat with Dan Montano of Zhittya Medicine. Dan, welcome to the program. Great to have you with us.
Thank you.
If you don't mind, Dan, please give us an overview of the company.
Our company, Zhittya Medicine, is a company developing a biological drug. So basically, we're a biotech company. And the drug we've been developing for the last 21 years is a drug that triggers the body's natural regenerative process through something called angiogenesis. And with this, we believe we can treat the cause of death for over 50% of all adults. That would be heart disease, stroke recovery, and we're now also introducing it into the brain to treat neurodegenerative diseases such as, once again, stroke recovery, Parkinson's disease, multiple sclerosis, Alzheimer's, and others. So we're very excited about our molecule.
Now, you mentioned a big word, angiogenesis. Why don't you tell our audience exactly what that is?
Angiogenesis is the medical terminology for the natural biological process of growing new blood vessels. So every listener that you have has done this thousands of times in their life. When they scrape their elbow, when they cut themselves shaving, whenever they bruise themselves, because of the trauma done at a cellular level, your body manufactures the same molecule that we manufacture, and your body orders your body to regenerate and to heal. So when your listeners fell down at 10 years old and scraped their elbow, they tore off skin, they ruptured blood vessels because blood was coming out, and they could feel the tingling because they had destroyed nerves. Their body made this identical molecule and told the body to grow new skin, new blood vessels, new nerves. So the news for your listeners is the reason they healed was because of this molecule and not mama's kiss.
Does this slow down due to the aging process as we get older?
It doesn't really slow down if you cut yourself or you damage yourself. The difference is the diseases that are killing over half the people today, like coronary artery disease, blocked arteries, stroke, these diseases don't have trauma. They're not an injury inflicted by a cut or a fall. These are things where there is a slow closure of blood vessels, and so what happens is there is no signal to the body to make this molecule. So we manufacture the molecule in our laboratory, and we take it to the area where new blood vessels are needed, like in the heart, and we've done 4 human clinical trials on the heart. We've grown blood vessels, and at our website, people can actually see the ABC Nightly News clip of our medicine growing new blood vessels in the heart. So the difference is that there is a lack lack of trauma in the diseases that are killing half of the people in America and the world today, which are basically diseases of slow choking of their blood system.
When you and I first became acquainted at a recent conference in Vancouver, what stuck in my head initially was the fact that you could grow new blood vessels in the brain and also in the heart, which is huge, especially for victims of either a heart attack or a stroke. But I did some research on your website, and there are many what are called tissue perfusion disorders. And since that word is scattered throughout your website, I'd like to discuss what a perfusion is and all of the different potential applications for your technology. I'm guessing it's a platform technology. Is that not correct, sir?
Absolutely a platform technology. So of your listeners, over half of them will suffer and most likely die from a perfusion deficiency. And what that basically means, perfusion is blood. So good perfusion means the blood is going through the arteries and getting where it needs to go. Perfusion deficiency means that insufficient blood is getting there, whether it's heart muscle in the case of heart disease, whether it's leg muscles in the case of peripheral artery disease, which affects over 10 million Americans, whether it's diabetic foot ulcers, which the 30 million Americans with diabetes know is a deadly disease. The diabetic foot ulcers don't heal because there's insufficient blood in the skin of a diabetic. And in the brain, everyone knows that a stroke is caused by insufficient blood to an area of the brain, a perfusion deficiency. But in the last 4 or 5 years, a new diagnostic technology called functional MRI has revealed the blood flows can be measured in the brain now. And they can see that people who have Alzheimer's have a blood or a perfusion deficiency in the memory areas of the brain. Parkinson sufferers have a perfusion deficiency, lack of blood in the substantia nigra area, leading to Parkinson's disease, multiple sclerosis. All of these diseases now in the brain are starting to show that a perfusion deficiency exists in their brain where they are now having the symptoms of what we would call these brain disorders.
And the list goes on. I am seeing degenerative disc disease and lower back pain, something many of us have. I have that occasionally. And hair loss. I mean, it's just endless here. Erectile dysfunction, inflammatory bowel disease. I know we just need to focus on a few things so we don't overwhelm our audience here, but sir, you've got a lot going on with this company.
Well, please understand, from the neck down, there are 75 known diseases of perfusion deficiency or lack of blood flow to a tissue or organ. In the brain, our guess is now that there's over 25 diseases that are perfusion deficiencies or lack of blood flow to an area of the brain. So yes, we have a lot to do, and what we do now is we have 19 targets. We're at the FDA working on the heart indication, which is the biggest cause of death in the world. We're working on an application for diabetic foot ulcers. We have phase 2B evidence that we can heal 100% of diabetic foot ulcers. And in the brain, we're going for Parkinson's first, and we have an application to do a Parkinson's trial, and we believe that within a period of time, we'll find out if our theory is right or not. So yes, we have a lot going on, and I believe that half of your audience should love us because we may extend their life another 20, 30 years without pain and suffering.
Well, that's a massive claim there, Dan, and I want to follow up with this question. Do you have any clinical trial success stories where you were able to reverse a human disease process by using this therapeutic angiogenesis?
On our website, and people can go to zgm.care or they can go to Zhittya Genesis Medicine, and there is links to the ABC Nightly News did a story on our drug growing blood vessels in the human heart during a clinical trial under the FDA at the University of Cincinnati. And these were all heart patients that had been given less than 1 year to live. They had to be what is called a no-option heart patient. Their hearts were so bad they could not walk 50 yards. And after our treatment, 100% returned to normal lives, and their pain was either gone or dramatically reduced. In the case of the diabetic foot ulcers, we also have clinical data which supports that. So we're very excited. We've got evidence, and people can go to the website and see this, and we are recruiting people for our clinical trial. So we're recruiting people for the Parkinson's trial, the diabetic foot ulcer trial, the Alzheimer's trial. We're looking for people because, as you know, Martin, 70% of all clinical trials fail because there's insufficient volunteers. In doing the heart trial with the US FDA, we were having a very difficult time recruiting patients, actually one a month from 20 hospitals. And then when the ABC story came out saying that we could save people from death's doors, we got 15,000 inquiries a week, people who didn't want to die. So we've learned that we have to reach out and find people who want to be in our trial so that we can go faster than waiting for a professor at a university to find somebody for us.
And this is one of the reasons, of course, that you reached out to this radio program to appeal to our audience to participate in these trials and take an interest in the company, correct?
Absolutely, Martin. We looked at the amazing reach that you have and the people that will be learning about what we are doing over the next year, and we want people to know. And we also want them to send you questions if they need information on a certain thing like traumatic brain injury or multiple systems atrophy. So we're seeking clinical people to follow us, and we hope people that will be able to help us as we go through the approval process with the regulators. We would like the FDA, if we have a treatment for Parkinson's, we would like them to address it earlier than have it sit on their desk for 6 years.
I was looking at some statistics online this morning without quoting them exactly. I know there are many veterans with traumatic brain injuries. There are a plethora of sports injuries around the world. It's throughout our culture, actually, and I'm heartened to think that we are potentially purveying a possible solution for that.
Martin, I think what is interesting is when you learn the new hypothesis that many of these diseases are of the fragile vessels, the capillaries in the brain, becoming disoriented because of accident or trauma or toxics or whatever. And you start to look at all of these implications, it's absolutely mind-boggling. And when you can see, and we have animal data, the vascularization in the brain after acoustic shock, like shooting your weapon in combat, you would be shocked to see what happens inside the brain. We have a pending clinical trial in ALS, and we're out talking to people, and we're learning that people who have ALS seem to have a lot of concussion, and it seems to affect the vascularization at the top of their spine, which affects the motor neuron. We're learning so much, and I think PTSD, I think TBIs, I think so many things are related to the disruption of these fragile vascular systems. So remember, a capillary is 5 microns. A red corpuscle is 3 microns. So that little tiny red corpuscle is squeezing and twisting and pushing its way down the capillary to deliver blood and oxygen to the necessary cells. And they got a tight journey, and if anything goes wrong along that channel, you're going to get less blood. And this is why we believe the brain of older people shrinks, because the cells at the end of that vascular system are slowly starving to death.
So I'm thinking right now, being a man of a certain age, that this technology potentially in the future could be made available simply as a life extender.
Well, I'm 71 years old, and one of my anticipated things, as soon as we are confirmed that it's safe in the brain, which we have confirmed in animals, we just haven't human test, I plan on getting it myself for the following reason. On our website, you can see a study done from the Columbia School of Medicine, which says the reason older people's brains deteriorate is because the vascular system is diminishing because of what I basically just described. I don't know how much my brain has shrunk, but I figured out if it proves to be safe, as it has in animals like monkeys, then I'm willing to find out if it helps me keep my brain going for another 30, 40 years. I'm only 71. I've only got 30, 40 years left.
Dan, I met you at an investment-related conference in Vancouver just about a week ago. You were on the road with this company, as well as Chief Science Officer, Dr. Jack Jacobs. I understand you're going to be at the Money Show in Orlando, Florida, February 7th and February 8th. Let's talk about that.
The Money Show in Orlando, Florida, Dr. Jacobs, my partner, the scientist, will be giving a presentation on both the 7th and 8th, about 45 minutes, on both the brain disorders and the heart disorders to the attendees. Now, people can come to the Money Show for free. Doesn't cost anything. But last year, they had about 4,000 or 5,000 people attend, and we had about 300 people at Dr. Jacobs' presentation, and it was the hit of the show because people may be coming there because they want to invest money or they want to get a nice return, but I can assure you that when they realize there's something that may extend the life of theirs or their loved ones, we had standing room only crowds. So we anticipate, again, that we will have standing room only crowds in Orlando, but if any of your listeners can attend, don't hesitate. It's, as I said, free. They can come from different places in Florida, and I assure you you the presentation will be impressive.
Well, Dan, it's a great pleasure to get acquainted with you here on the air. I know we're going to be talking frequently. I have many more questions, but I will save them for future broadcasts. Thank you so much for joining me today in the program.
Thank you. Appreciate the time.
I've been speaking with Dan Montano, the CEO of Angiogenesis Medicine. The company's website is zgm.care. That's zgm.care. All you have to do is type into your browser zgm.care, and you'll find their website. Feel free to contact me with any questions regarding this company as well, and I'll make sure that you are connected to the company. Reach me as follows: info@ellismartinreport.com. That's info@ellismartinreport.com. I urge you, if you're able to attend and you're in the area, Zhittya will be giving 2 scientific presentations at the Money Show Orlando 2020 on how therapeutic angiogenesis can be used to treat heart disease, diabetic foot ulcers, chronic stroke, Parkinson's disease, and more. The talks are at the following times, coming up very soon: Friday, February 7th at 4:30 p.m. and Saturday, February 8th at 9 a.m. To attend the Money Show, it's free. All you have to do is register. The event is at the Omni Orlando Resort at Champions Gate, Orlando, Florida. Zhittya has an exhibition booth there, and it's number 609. Meet and talk to Zhittya's CEO, Dan Montano, and the President and Chief Scientific Officer, Dr. Jack Jacobs. Register at moneyshow.com. And again, find Angiogenesis Medicine on the web by typing in zgm.care. I'm Ellis Martin.
Subscribe to the Ellis Martin newsletter. It's free. Go to ellismartinreport.com and fill out the quick and easy pop-up form.